What's good, everybody? Icon here, going over SummerSlam weekend from the Thunderdome. And, after coming off yesterday's NXT event, I'm definitely interested to see what surprises coming up today because, like they said, we'll never see it coming. So let's sit back and enjoy the show. Start off with the pre-show and see what's going to unfold in this year's SummerSlam. So the first match ended up being the pre-show match of the United States Championship between Apollo Crews and MVP. Little disappointed because I'm a huge fan of everyone involved in this situation. And, to see the brothers on the pre-show kind of sucks. But once I realized that they were the pre-show, that's when I was just like, well, Apollo's obviously going to retain because if they do a title change, they're not going to do it on the pre-show. And that's exactly what happened. Apollo got MVP up for his turning sit-out powerbomb, got the 1-2-3 victory. When the match started, though, MVP came out instead of his come in, I got the juice. He switched to his old I'm ballin', and that was the theme music he had right before he left WWE, the last time. So he brought back his old ballin' theme music, which was cool. And they now have Hurt Business t-shirts. And I guarantee you that the next time we do a pay-per-view review, I'll probably have myself a Hurt Business t-shirt because we all in the Hurt Business. But Apollo Crews picked up the victory. Kudos to him for continuing his United States Championship run, and we look forward to seeing who his next opponent is now that MVP's in the rearview mirror. So the first match to open this pay-per-view was the SmackDown Women's Championship match, Asuka versus Bayley, which makes perfect sense because, if Asuka's supposed to be wrestling twice, they got to have one match early, she has to open the show and then do the other one later just so she'll have time to rest. So again, this was Sasha was at ringside with her sexy tracksuit on. Bayley and Asuka put on a good match. A lot of interference, and a lot of the interference wasn't warranted. It wasn't so much that Sasha was cheating or whatever, but she was just yelling at Asuka a lot, and Asuka was taking her attention away from Bayley just to go stop Sasha from yelling. But towards the end of the match, Asuka went for her typical, Bayley was up against the ropes and Asuka went for her hip attack. Sasha actually jumped up on the apron, pushed Bayley out of the way, and Sasha took the hit, and then while Asuka was hanged up in the ropes, Bayley rolled her up, got the cradle, and then got her with the 1-2-3. And then as soon as the bell rung and Bayley retained the title, Sasha immediately went in the ring and started beating the crap out of Asuka because, again, she has her match coming up later. So why would you not beat up Asuka and soften her up, for her match? So it makes perfect sense. The two of them did their thing. Bayley's still SmackDown Women's Champion, and and to be honest, Asuka should have never. Asuka's not a SmackDown superstar. Asuka's a Raw superstar, so she never should even have been in the match to begin with. I feel like Naomi should have been in that match. No, you could have picked somebody else. That took an opportunity away to have Asuka fight twice for no reason. But hopefully now, because Naomi pinned Bayley, Naomi will be the next challenger and finally take the belt off of Bayley once and for all. So now we look ahead to the Raw Women's match where Asuka will take on Sasha for the Raw Women's Championship. After that was the Raw Tag Team Championship match, the Street Profits versus Angel Garza and Andrade. And, with Zelina Vega at ringside, Bianca Belair didn't accompany the Street Profits, and I was very disappointed by that because with everything that's been going on between her and Zelina Vega and this whole back and forth, why would you not be at SummerSlam and why would you not be, ringside when the whole thing happens? Because it's always good to see Bianca Belair, but I said disappointed she wasn't at ringside. So towards the end of the match, obviously Zelina Vega doing what she does. She got on the apron, was arguing with the referee. Montez Ford, hit the rope, knocked Zelina off the rope, and Zelina fell on the floor. So now at this point, Garza's in a situation where he's getting double teamed by the Street Profits. Meanwhile, Andrade's on the floor trying to help up Zelina Vega and make sure that she's okay. And because of that, Garza got double teamed. The Street Profits hit their finisher. Montez hit a turning splash off the top rope, which looked dope. And, they retained the tag team championships, and the Street Profits are still, your Raw tag team champions, which means I feel like at this point, they lost, they had a shot at the title. They lost. It's over. And I think it's now time to split up Garza and Andrade. I was never a fan of Andrade and Garza, having dissension because I like them as a team or as a stable. I like Zelina Vega being their stable leader. I wasn't a fan of the whole breaking up the band type situation. But if that's what they're going to do, Now that they've went for the tag team titles and lost them, just break it up. Like, just break the whole thing up. Have Garza go to SmackDown or something and do his own thing, and let Andrade and Vega stay where they're at. But like I said, good. Kudos to the Street Profits. That's one match in the books, and we'll see what happens in the next one. So the third match was I forgot they changed this to, like, first it was hair versus hair. Like, Mandy got a haircut, and then they were just like hair versus hair. Then they said now it's supposed to be a loser leaves, WWE match. So, I mean, it does remind me of the Lay Cool situation when Lay Cool imploded and Layla beat Michelle McCool, in a loser leaves town match. But Michelle McCool was retiring. As far as I know, Sonya Deville's not retiring. And if she is retiring, the way that WWE treated her career was very bad, because this girl actually has a lot of talent. She's a legit badass. They could have did a lot more with her, and they're not. I hope she's not done. Who knows, maybe, because she's a free agent now and she no longer works there, maybe somebody will sign her when the draft comes around. Maybe the girl's getting married. Maybe she just wants to take a break. Maybe she's having surgery. I don't know what's happening, but I honestly hope she does not leave, because I do like Sonya Deville. Mandy Rose, she had a good match tonight. There were a couple of botches in the match, but Mandy Rose has come to wrestle with some of the hottest outfits of all time. Tonight was not one of them. I did not like the onesie that she wore today. Wasn't very flattering. It is what it was. Just very weird. Like, this whole thing was just very weird to me, because I don't understand where this is going. I mean, I'm gonna have to do a little bit more research and find out why the match was changed from hair to loser leaves. But obviously, if it's a loser leaves situation, Sonya Deville clearly has something else to do, which is why she even agreed to do this. And like I said, hopefully, good match by both girls. I'm glad the two of them finally got a chance to do something on a big stage, because they've been trying to get matches. They've been trying to, do the tag team thing, do the singles thing, and they've never been able to get a legitimate shot. So the fact that they finally got a legitimate shot on SummerSlam, I'm perfectly fine with that. I'm happy for them, and I hope we don't lose either girl going forward, but we'll see what happens. Next up was the Seth Rollins Dominik Mysterio match. And I just want to start by saying I never cared about this whole feud. I hated this whole thing. I fast forwarded every single time that any of these segments came on. But with that being said, Dominik actually does have some skills. I have to give him that. And he actually looked good in the wrestling attire. He looked like him and Seth got their wrestling attire from the same person. But he did look good in the suit. He didn't look. He looked like he belonged. Like, he actually did look like a wrestler. He's way taller than his daddy. The boy has talent. And I think if he bulks up a little bit more, trims some of the fat, and puts on some muscle, he'll be good to go. But again, we all knew, like, in his debut match at SummerSlam of all places, he was not gonna beat Seth Rollins. They even brought out Dominik's mama. Like, she came out. And another thing, like, the boy's looking for a career in wrestling. Like, he obviously wants to become a professional wrestler. I understand being concerned for your child and being worried about your child's well-being. But the way like Angie was acting and the way Ray was acting, the way he was screaming, it's like, you act like the kid is like 12 years old. He's a fucking grown ass man. Just like, oh my. So it's like, so for Ray to be, because Ray got handcuffed to the ring at one point, for Ray to be screaming like, no, my son, and it's not like Seth Rollins was cutting off his fingers or like cutting off his limbs. He was doing regular wrestling moves to him, and the whole time Rey Mysterio screaming like, no. I'm like, bro, he just gave him a body slam. Like, chill out. It's like, he's a grown ass man. So it's like, so my whole thing to Ray is, now you know how your family feels when you've been in the ring, if you're going to be that emotional about it. So the over emotion, like the overacting and the over emotional aspect of it kind of lost me, but the match was surprisingly good. I mean, Buddy Murphy was at ringside, whatever, but Seth Rollins, he beat Dominik. Like, we all knew that was going to happen. That was not a surprise. And like I said, we'll see where the kid goes, going forward. Because I said, the kid definitely has a future. So there's one bright spot that comes out of this whole train wreck, was the fact that Dominik Mysterio seems like he will be like a decent wrestler, a decent performer, when he finally gets the proper training and continues to grow into his own. What followed up next was the Raw Women's Championship match between Sasha Banks and Asuka. And the ending was pretty cute, because like we said in the first match where Bayley wrestled Asuka for the SmackDown Women's Championship, Asuka tried, she tried to do like that hip bump, that little hip bump she does on the ropes. Sasha took the bump and then that allowed that allowed Bayley to get the roll up. In this situation, they created the exact same situation, only this time when Sasha was up against the ropes and Asuka was going for the bump, for the hip bump, Bayley jumped up on the apron, but Bayley didn't take the hit. Bayley moved out of the way, and because Bayley moved out of the way and didn't take the hit, Asuka was able to, recuperate, and she was able to roll Sasha up in the Asuka lock, and Sasha eventually tapped out. So Asuka once again is the Raw Women's Champion, and it does suck that Sasha is no longer the champion. Like, I'm not happy about that, but at the same time, Sasha's not a Raw superstar. She's a SmackDown superstar, so she never really should have had the Raw title. Anyway, it's nice to see Asuka get her win back because she was basically given the Raw Women's Championship, although she did win Money in the Bank. So for her to get a quote unquote proper championship victory celebration is nice. It's nice to see as well. And now this will start the Bayley Sasha feud because, which also I guess my prediction for Naomi being the next challenger is about to go out the window. And now the dissension between Sasha and Bayley will begin, and eventually we're going to get Sasha versus Bayley for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Asuka takes the belt back to Raw, and now she can either fight Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler, or hopefully Bianca Belair. Then we had the WWE Championship match, Randy Orton versus Drew McIntyre. And although I am a fan of both guys, like I like Orton and Drew McIntyre, I wasn't really high on this match because I personally just felt that Bobby Lashley should have been the person fighting Drew for the belt instead of Randy Orton. But, it is what it is. And there was a lot of talk going back and forth about whether Drew was going to drop the belt to Orton so then he can later win it back at the Royal Rumble in a bigger arena so he can get a bigger crowd reaction. And they were even saying up until yesterday, probably up until this morning, that Vince he didn't make a decision on the outcome of this match. But in the end, I guess he chose to go with Drew McIntyre, and Drew McIntyre defeated Randy Orton to retain the title. But it wasn't like a spectacular win. He basically beat Orton, with the baseball slide. The baseball slide, like with the slide where you pin, you wrap the arms and put the guy, like he didn't Claymore him. Orton didn't win with an RKO or a punt. McIntyre didn't win with a Claymore. He basically caught him with a backslide pin and, got the 1, 2, 3. And I mean, it's been a while since we've seen someone win with that type of pin. So I guess that was cool, but good match. But the finish, and like I said, I don't have a problem with Drew winning, but losing to a baseball, like losing to a slide pin was just kind of like, but whatever. Drew's got the belt, which means there's still hope for Bobby Lashley to take the title from him, which is what I hope happens in the future. And finally, to close out this SummerSlam that we apparently would never see coming, Bray Wyatt versus Braun Strowman, Falls Count Anywhere. And honestly, I didn't care about this. Like their whole thing, I didn't care about that either. They were fighting all over the place. It ended with Braun Strowman took a box cutter. He exposed the wooden turnbuckle, gave him Sister Abigail on the wooden turnbuckle, got the 1, 2, 3, and thank God Braun Strowman's championship reign is over. And The Fiend has the title back, and The Fiend is once again your Universal Champion. And it was just like the match wasn't special. I mean, we did get blood in both championship matches, like Orton and Strowman bled, but like I said, there was nothing like spectacular about it. Now at the end, after The Fiend won the championship and he was celebrating, he took a spear from a returning Roman Reigns. So that was a little bit of a surprise. It was nice to see. And but I wouldn't be like, oh my God, I didn't see it coming because, there were rumors that, he could be coming back anyway. But what was interesting about it is Roman Reigns beat up not only The Fiend, but he also beat up Bray. He also beat up Braun Strowman. He speared Braun Strowman, hit him with a chair. And when he was beating him with the chair, Roman was saying to Braun, he was just like, you're nothing without me. You're not a monster unless I'm here. So at first I was like, well, because, Strowman took Roman's place at SummerSlam, obviously Roman would want to get his revenge on Braun because Braun took his spot. But he also beat up The Fiend. So I'm now confused whether or not Reigns is a heel or a face, because if we're talking Braun Strowman, then yeah, it seems like he came back in the heel capacity, and now Roman Reigns is a heel. Wreck everybody and leave was his t-shirt, but he beat up The Fiend too, so who knows? That's it, but that is interesting, and I am looking forward to see what Roman has to say on Friday Night SmackDown. To explain himself, for his actions. So that was pretty much it, and we have a new Universal Champion in the Fiend, Bray Wyatt. So that was my review for SummerSlam. The show was definitely better than NXT. I thought like NXT kind of disappointed me because it was NXT because like it was NXT Takeover 30, and instead of getting NXT Takeover 30, I felt like I was just watching NXT Takeover. And that was a little like for 30 it should have been more like there should have been more matches. We should have got Rhea Ripley versus Mercedes Martinez. We should have got Swerve Scott versus Phantasma. We should have got a tag team match for for the NXT tag team titles. We didn't get any of those matches. We got 5 matches, 1 pre-show match, and it was pretty much the same NXT format. But the SummerSlam pay-per-view was good. Like they, like I said, the only disappointing thing about the SummerSlam pay-per-view was just like a lot of the outcomes were basic and there was no real surprise. Like I said, like, Drew McIntyre won with a roll up. The Fiend winning, like that was a little underwhelming. Like the finishes weren't spectacular, but the performers were good, the matches were good, and like I said, overall, like the card was better than SummerSlam. So I mean, I would have to give NXT like a 6. And for SummerSlam, I would give SummerSlam like an 8 because it is cool now to know that Roman Reigns is back in the mix. I did a podcast with 3 great people regarding the DC fandom event that was Saturday. I'm gonna post my reactions to DC fandom based on the podcast that I did because we did talk about DC fandom in the podcast that I did. I'm gonna post the clips of the podcast per event that happened for DC fandom. So that's going to be tomorrow. Keep an eye out for my reviews for the DC fandom stuff with the podcast, and keep it locked for more content because this was a very packed weekend and a lot went on. I am very tired. I have a lot of editing to do, but it is fun. I enjoy it, and I enjoy bringing it to you. So thank you for tuning in for my review for SummerSlam. Leave a comment, like, or subscribe, and we'll talk about some more stuff as it comes up, and we'll keep the channel rolling. So until then, take care, guys. And for SummerSlam, until next time, I'm out. Peace. Yeah.